Hi, I'm Chris with the GRE Test Prep team. Welcome to this official overview of the verbal reasoning measure of the GRE Revised General Test. We know that taking this test is an important step in your educational career, and we want to make sure you are ready for test day. We are going to explain what the verbal reasoning measure covers, show you the different types of questions in the measure, and provide some strategies for answering the different types. We'll also provide you with some general strategies for taking the test. By the end of this video, you should feel better prepared to take the verbal reasoning sections of the test and be ready to earn a score that best reflects your verbal reasoning skills. And just what are those skills? This part of the test measures your ability to analyze and evaluate written materials and synthesize information from it, to analyze relationships among component parts of sentences, and to recognize relationships between and among words and concepts. That's all important in graduate and business school, right? Because people who take the test have very different backgrounds, the questions involve a variety of subjects, including natural sciences, social sciences, and the humanities. Not your favorite topics? There's no need to worry. The test assesses your verbal reasoning skills, not your specific knowledge of these subjects. Since most test takers take the computer-based test format, we will focus on that format in this video. The computer-based verbal reasoning measure contains two 30-minute sections. You may also receive a third verbal reasoning section that is not scored. This unscored section could appear any time after the analytical writing measure, which is always the first section in the GRE Revised General Test. Here's a tip. Treat each section as if it counts toward your score, because it probably will. The verbal reasoning measure is section-level adaptive, which means that the measure consists of two sections of questions, and the computer selects the second section based on your performance on the first section. So if you perform well in the first 30-minute verbal reasoning section, your second section will include questions that are more difficult. It is important to know that doing well on the first section can only help your overall score, and all questions within a section, no matter how easy or difficult, count the same. Your scaled score on the verbal reasoning measure will be based on the number of questions you answer correctly and the difficulty level of the questions, and it will be reported on a 130 to 170 scale in 1-point increments. Now here's a tip to remember. No matter the section of the test you're in, be sure to answer every question in the section, because points are not deducted for wrong answers, so it is better to guess than to leave an answer blank. The GRE Revised General Test is designed to offer a flexible test-taking experience so you can use many of your own test-taking strategies. You can edit or change answers within a section and move around to different questions as you wish. You will see a Help button at the upper right of your screen. Clicking Help will bring up information about the type of question you're looking at and general directions concerning the overall test. Here's an example. The question has 5 possible answer choices. If you click on Help, you'll be advised how to answer this type of question. There are also buttons labeled Mark and Review. The Mark button enables you to mark a question that you want to revisit later during the time section. Clicking on Review brings up this screen, which lists the current status of all the questions in the section, which ones you have answered, those you haven't, which are incomplete, which are marked for later review, and those you have not yet seen. From the Review screen, you can hit Return to get back to the test at the point where you left off, or you can highlight a particular question, hit Go to Question, and be taken there directly. The Review screen is a great tool for tracking your progress. Just remember to budget the amount of time you spend using it. To do your best in the verbal reasoning measure, you will need to understand the types of questions you will see and also take note of some strategies to help you answer each type. Verbal reasoning questions fall into 3 general categories: reading comprehension sets, text completion questions, and sentence equivalence questions. So what are reading comprehension sets like? Well, they consist of a written passage and one or more questions related to that passage. The goal is to measure just how well you understand the purpose and main idea, recognize the specific points made, identify assumptions, and make inferences and evaluate the purpose and structure of what you have read. Even if you're not familiar with the subject matter in the written passage, remember that it contains all the information you will need to answer the questions. The questions that follow the passage fall into a few broad categories. What is the author's main point? What does the passage specifically say about a particular topic? What is being implied? What assumptions are being made? What is the purpose of a particular sentence? How would the author likely feel about an issue? And what does a particular word mean in the context of this passage? Some questions in a reading comprehension set will have only one correct answer. Others have more than one correct answer. Or, in the select in passage questions, you will be instructed to highlight a sentence that fits the given description. In this reading comprehension set, the left paragraph deals with popular music and the composer Philip Glass. On the right, there is a multiple choice question with just one correct answer. If you click anywhere on the oval or within the answer you believe is the right one, the oval will be filled in. You can change your choice by clicking on another oval, which replaces your original selection. In this reading comprehension question, the directions advise you to select all that apply, identifying it as a multiple choice question with one or more correct answers. As you select an answer, the box is filled in with an X. If you change your mind, you have to actively deselect an answer to eliminate the X by clicking on it again. This type of question could have just one correct answer, or all three could be correct. When you view this question on the review screen, it will indicate that you have answered the question after you select just one answer, even though more could be needed in order to completely answer the question. Another important point: there is no partial credit. If you get one correct answer when there actually should be two, you have answered this question incorrectly. And the third type of reading comprehension question is the select in passage. That requires you to highlight a particular sentence as your answer. To do so, click on the sentence you want to select in the passage, and it will be highlighted automatically. To change your answer, just click on a different sentence, and the original one will no longer be highlighted. Again, all the information needed to answer each question is in the passage. You will not require knowledge of specific subjects. You might want to read the passage to get a clear sense of its overall meaning. You can use your scratch paper to note some key words and phrases. Look for claims that are made by the author or claims that are made by someone else and merely described by the author. Also, distinguish between instances where the author puts forth a hypothesis or asserts an idea with some certainty. You might also want to try different problem-solving approaches to find the one that works best for you. Try reading the passage thoroughly before looking at the questions. Then try skimming over the passage, and finally, try looking at the questions before reading the passage. Determine the approach that works best for you and use it for all reading comprehension sets. When you're ready to answer, make sure you read the question thoroughly and fully understand what is being asked. Base your answer on what the passage says, not some outside knowledge you may have. Do not select an answer merely because it happens to be a true statement. And do not pick an answer because it is somewhat true. A few other tips. If a question deals with the main idea of the passage, make sure your answer does the same. Make a distinction between what the author is saying directly and what the author is merely implying. Use the passage as it is written without bringing in your own ideas or interpretations. Text completion questions involve one or more sentences with some blanks that you will fill in by choosing from the answer choices provided. This type of question measures your ability to fully comprehend sentences and infer which words will best complete the passage. This passage consists of 4 sentences. It has 2 blanks and requires 2 correct answers. Say you determine that the most appropriate answer for the first blank is opaque to, and an arcane fits best in the second blank. When you click on those choices, they will be highlighted. Be sure that you read the sentence again with those words included to determine if you made the best selections. To get credit for a correct answer, both of your selections must be correct. There is no partial credit for getting one blank correct. Here are some strategies for answering text completion questions. First, Read the passage to get an overall sense of its flow and meaning, and pick out some words or phrases that seem important. You may wish to use your scratch paper to fill in the blanks with your own words and then see which answer choices most closely match. You can fill in the blanks in any order, and always read the entire passage with the blanks filled in to make sure it makes sense. 2 more tips for filling in the blanks. Ask yourself whether the word should be similar to or the opposite of a nearby word, and whether the word should have a positive or negative connotation. The third question type in the verbal reasoning measure is sentence equivalence, which has 1 sentence and 1 blank. You will be asked to select 2 answers that complete the sentence coherently and produce 2 sentences with a similar meaning. In this example, the sentence reads, "Cynics believe that people who blank compliments do so in order to be praised twice." 2 answers that complete the sentence in a similar way are deflect and shrug off, and those are indeed the correct answers. If you change your mind and click on a different square, you will have to remove one of your previous answers. This type of question requires exactly 2 answers, no more, no less. Because the sentence equivalence questions require 2 answers, if you check only 1 answer, the review screen will list the question as incomplete. Strategies for answering sentence equivalence questions include identifying significant words or phrases, trying to fill in the blanks with your own words, and rereading the sentence with the answers you have selected. If 2 of the answer choices have similar meanings, do not automatically assume those are the correct answers. They may be synonyms that do not fit with the sentence. And before you fill in a blank, ask yourself whether the word should be similar to, or perhaps the opposite of, a nearby word, and whether the word you choose should be generally positive or negative. Before we conclude, there are some general strategies that will help you do your best in the verbal reasoning sections of the test. Use the mark and review tools to keep track of your progress. Leave enough time to check the review screen before finishing a section. As you know by now, make sure you have answered all the questions in a section, even if that means guessing if you don't know the answer. It is a good strategy to move quickly and answer the questions you are sure of first, and use the test's mark feature to identify questions you want to return to later in the time section. Using the mark feature will allow you to identify the questions that will require more thought. Read each question thoroughly. Take notes if that helps you. And read all the choices before picking your answer or answers. Use your time wisely. And when helpful, use the timer at the top of the screen, which you can turn on and off as you wish. And occasionally check the review screen, certainly before completing a section. So, now you know what to expect on test day. You have an overview of the verbal reasoning question types and great tips and strategies for doing your best on this part of the test. What else can you do to prepare for the verbal reasoning measure? Seek out help from a professor or a friend or coworker who might be willing to help you prepare. And consider joining a study group with like-minded students. Read magazines and other materials with an analytical eye. What is the author saying? What is the author implying? Start your test preparation early enough so you have time to improve the areas in which you are not as strong. And, if possible, take courses that include complex reading material. Then get going to takethegre.com, where you will find all the official test preparation tools available from the test maker, including the video Success Starter Tips and Strategies for the Quantitative Reasoning Measure. And be sure to check out the free PowerPrep 2 software, which has 2 complete practice tests that are as close to the actual test experience as you can get. The software also provides the opportunity to get familiar with the various functions, including help, and mark, and review. We also invite you to join the conversation with test takers around the world on the official GRE Revised General Test page on Facebook. Remember, the entire GRE team is rooting for you to do your very best on the GRE Revised General Test. Thanks for joining us today, and best of luck.